Hi, everyone, and this is Lorna McGrath, your host, and welcome back to Montessori Family Alliance webcast. I'm glad that you're all here today, and I know you're going to enjoy this particular topic because it is summertime. Yes, the first day of summer was just yesterday, I believe. So this is a topic for times when schools let out. So if this is your first time joining us, we'd love for you to ask questions or write comments if you'd like to. There is a section on the right-hand side of your screen that says questions, and you can just go in there and type in whatever you want. We'll be checking that throughout the broadcast. If you're here every week or lots of weeks, you already know that we have that, and we would love your comments or questions as well. You are members of the Montessori Family Alliance, and so you probably know that these webcasts are recorded, and in about a week, they will be posted on the Montessori Foundation website under the Montessori Family Alliance, and you can re-listen to this broadcast, or you can invite someone else to join you for it, and so that is available to all of you. Also, there are handouts. Today there's a handout. I think actually there are several pages of it today, so if you would like to print that out either now or later for your reference, that would be great. Glad you're here, and my friend and guest and colleague Cheryl Allen is here with us today. She is one of the best elementary teachers, most experienced, and very good with the children. And she works here at Newgate School, so we're very happy that she's on our staff. And she's here today to give you lots of good ideas about things you can be doing in the summertime. If you're an administrator, this would be great. Take notes and hand it out next year for your kids or to your elementary teachers. So we're going to go ahead and get started, Cheryl.
Okay.
All right. Oops, maybe we're not. Yes, we are. There we go. Maybe not. Let's try it one more time. There we go. Okay.
I've been calling what I hand out in the summer, when lots of people call it summer homework, I call it summer adventures. So called this vacation adventures because we're talking about all vacations, not just summer.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, you know, sometimes in our society, certainly, and I don't think we're so unusual. I think other places in the world do this too, but I think that, you know, our culture sort of makes parents really nervous about summertime, you know,
Yes.
like, oh, how am I, you know, they can't come back behind. What if they forget everything? And so they want to do things like workbooks and other things, flashcards, whatever, to keep their minds busy. And I think you and I are in agreement that there are lots of other things we could be doing that would actually be fun.
Yes, there are. I'm always shocked that the parents that I feel like really get Montessori and are really behind us in class come up a week before any vacation and say, do you have homework for over the vacation? And I always think we haven't had homework all year. What would make this different?
Why would we have it now?
That's why I started to set out things that just take advantage of the learning that's already being done and really calling parents' mind to that. And I will say that in a world where it's so easy for the kids to get on their iPad instead of doing something else, that the chance for them to be bored and then create something or learn something doesn't really happen unless we're careful about that.
So it's good for kids to get bored sometimes?
I do think so. I think boredom is beneficial.
I like it. I like it. All right. Shall we go to the next?
Sure.
All right.
One of the things that is so important is just interacting with others. And it's a great time. I mean, I know in my family, it's a time when we're able to spend more time together as our family and to visit grandparents and cousins. So I talk about just taking a walk with a family member. That's when you hear the best stories, I think, when you're just walking or hanging out with each other. I look for things that are not going to cost a lot of money.
Right, that's a good point.
I say run a race. I just think it's fun. We have access to weekly races that are $1 for the entire summer. So that, I mean, that's something I can afford. And
you have an athletic family. I'd rather swim personally, but you know.
You could swim. Those races are at the beach, but that's something that we do, even just walking with doing something with each other.
Yeah.
But we enjoy, as a family, we enjoy the races, and I am not athletic. So the rest of my family maybe, but not me. Play a non-electronic game for all ages. That is, I think, really undervalued.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And you could, I mean, I always feel like you could almost teach an entire curriculum with games, a social curriculum at least.
Yeah, certainly. And there's a lot of reading a lot of times.
Yes.
And in this particular one that you've got pictured here, there's counting with the money and everything, and making change and doing all kinds of things like that. We play a lot of Scrabble.
Yes.
And we also do a lot of not jigsaw. Well, we do jigsaw puzzles together, but we also do. My mind is blanking. It's in a book, and you put in the words. It's a different kind of
crossword.
Crossword. Thank
puzzles.
you, man. Yeah. You guys, you have to. This week, we just had our first grandchild over the weekend, and somebody said I have a grandma brain now. I'm just floating with it as I normally am. So yeah.
Of course, it's you at home. We games for younger ones, just taking turns.
Yeah.
I know with my son when he was younger, we would play Scrabble, and we let him just spell phonetically.
Sure.
Until the day he tried to spell quiz, Kwiz, and I knew he knew how to spell, but it was going to give him a lot of points. So I was like, all right, we're done. You know how to spell this.
That's right. Spelling counts now.
Yes. You need no more phonetic spelling. Have or go to a party and help with something. Kids love to have parties with just anything. Believe it or not, there's a website, napkinfolding.com.
Woohoo!
Anytime that we have people over, my daughter, I don't know that she does it so much anymore, but she used to go to that website and these fabulous napkins, which made our table look really fancy, even if we were just having burgers.
Yeah, exactly.
And she loved it. You know, it was a great thing for her to do, and a great way for her to help.
Sure. I remember Ellen used to help me. She loved to have parties also, and she would help with the decorations and the meal planning. She would help plan what snacks or whatever we were going to have. So kids do love to do that, and they can greet people at the door too when they come. You know, they can be the greeters. That's a great thing too. Make someone laugh. That's a good one.
I think that once again is undervalued, and something that some children don't have to work for, but some need to develop that skill.
Sure.
And I see in class all the time those students who can take what could be a tense moment and make someone laugh, can make whatever they're working on so much easier. And
Absolutely.
Just developing that skill.
Yeah. I'm reading a book right now. It's called The Importance of Being Little. And the subtitle is What Preschoolers Really Need from Grown-ups. And one of the things that this author said is just exactly what you just said, that humor is an important life skill.
Yes.
You know, because it can do a lot of different things in different situations for you. And also, it changes how you're looking at the world, too. So, yeah, it's nice to do that.
It does. Some of us need to find our appropriate audience. I'm hilarious if your age is 6 to 9.
Yeah.
So I stick with them.
Okay.
The rest of the time, it comes and goes. Help someone. Just providing the opportunity to help somebody in whatever way. Pull weeds, take someone's a package into, carry a package into them. There are so many opportunities. And once again, I think it's something that we feel like it needs to be a special occasion. We're going out and we're volunteering, and let's make sure we post it on Facebook, and it's a really big deal. But the bigger deals are helping somebody find their lunchbox at camp when it's lost. That's a much bigger deal to the person. Not that you shouldn't go to a soup kitchen or something, but finding those other opportunities.
Yeah. I get what you mean. I mean, I feel like sometimes kids think the only time, it's almost like taking tests. The only time they want to learn something, or they'll say, is that going to be on the test? And I think sometimes nowadays, sometimes children don't really think about helping people unless they're getting community service hours.
Right. And not just children, adults also.
Well, true.
A surprising number of people ask me when my children are doing something, do they get community service hours for that? And I'm like, that is such a secondary concern for us.
Yeah.
And they'll get them all without worrying about it. This is similar, but do something kind for someone. We have what we call a kindness wreath in our classroom, and so we're always watching for people to do kind things and noticing when they do kind things. And really the smallest things are kind.
Yeah.
And once again, it's just making that a habit in your life and making a habit in their life.
Yeah. I think even saying please and thank you is a kindness. It's a respectful kindness thing, and it's just part of being polite and respectful to other people, and it makes a big difference.
It does. Makes a big difference in your own happiness or your children's happiness, and how smooth your summer is or your vacation is.
Right.
And write a letter. We love to write letters in class. Most of my lower elementary students love to write letters. They love to get letters even more. I was going to
say, it's so much fun to get something in the mail other than advertisements.
Yes.
So.
And we talk about you have to write the letter to get the letter. So.
That's true. That's very true. And you're not talking about an email. You're talking about a real letter that comes in the mail.
I'm talking about a real letter that comes in the mail, although you could email too. My son used to email with my husband's grandfather, so his great-grandfather.
Oh, wow.
And they used to write their emails in Morse code because, I don't know, because that's the type of person they both are. And they loved it. And I know Grandpa did the same thing. He would get the email and he would print it out. And we would get the email and we would print it out for Braden, and they would each translate it and then they would write back. And in that case, email was easier for them.
Sure.
Than writing it. But
fun.
It was definitely entertaining for both of them. It's always good to keep the great-grandparents entertained.
Oh, you bet. All right.
Make things. Cook, and I'll talk about what we're doing. I have a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old right now.
Shall I put up the next slide and then we can go back?
Sure. So in our neighborhood, where we have teenagers living across the street and teenagers in my house, we decided to do a Chopped challenge. If you've ever seen the TV show, nobody gets sent away in our Chopped challenge, but we decide 5 ingredients that need to be included in meals. And we just did this last night. So we had fish, blueberries, tomatoes, I can't remember what the other 2 things are. I might remember when I see the picture, but they were fairly, beans was one of them, fairly basic things that they might easily have in their cupboards or go out and buy, because they're not likely to have fish in their cupboards, but
I hope not.
That they could use. And we try to be seasonal.
Yeah.
So they can use those. They need to use those things to make an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. And we each just take a little bit of each one. So we tell them to have them serve 3 or 4, and then we take smaller than normal servings. They could use the blueberries in any part of that meal.
Okay.
And
so they might put blueberries in the salad to begin with rather than the dessert to end it off.
Right. And last night was 3 of them because the 4th one was gone, but 3 of them. So we had 3 different appetizers, 3 different entrees, and 3 different desserts. And so at least 2 of those children started out saying, I don't know how to cook, but they've been looking up recipes, they've been figuring out. As the adults, we help them understand or look up the difference between diced and minced, and we get involved that way. But mostly they serve us food and we hang out.
I think that's a great idea. I wish I had teenagers. Oh, no, wait a minute, maybe I don't.
It's really fun. You can also make art of any kind. I mean, you can go outside and make nature art.
Sure. It
doesn't have to stay.
I saw a bunch of dream catchers in the Peace Courtyard near your classroom, and I believe that was probably from camp that people were making some dream catchers. I'm not sure.
I think it might have been from when the students from Mexico were here.
Oh.
They brought that as a craft for us. And a lot of times we think that just our girls are going to like to make art, but that's not usually true.
Right. Everybody
likes to make art.
Jump in.
Make music. They use things for musical instruments. It doesn't have to be fancy. Doesn't mean you have to take piano lessons. Just give the opportunity to sing. My daughter loves to make dances with her friends in the pool or on the trampoline or something like that. They'll get together, and she's probably been doing that whenever they have the opportunity since she was 6.
Sure.
She still likes it.
I was thinking about our music teacher here one year. I think we were studying Africa. I'm pretty sure we were studying Africa. And she went online, of course, and Googled whatever, and it was this rhythm. They had cups, like plastic cups. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And they did rhythms and things with the cups. Man, that was so much fun and so easy to do, It
was so much fun. And actually, one of the pictures that I replaced when I found a picture of her playing a game was my daughter and her cousin doing the cup song, playing that with the cups. And they must have sat there figuring out and then just playing it faster and slower and singing the song and doing the cup movements for at least an hour.
Wow, that's great.
They just loved it. And it's a great connection for cousins who, she lives in New Hampshire, we live in Florida. They don't see each other a whole lot.
Often, right.
So it's a nice memory for them. Draw pictures or take pictures of things in nature. If you, and I'm going to put this in with draw or take pictures of people. If you have younger children and you are at a family event, a wedding or something, if you need to entertain them, give them a camera instead of another electronic. You get wonderful pictures, some of them, but if they're digital, you can easily delete the ones that aren't so wonderful. They love it. They have such a great time. And I was at one of the best pictures from my sister's wedding was taken by my son, who was then 2.5. And, we just gave him a camera because we needed him to do something. And he took and he also could get everyone together. I want to take a picture. Who's going to say no to a 2-year-old? Of course, for something like that.
Right.
And so we would all get together, and he would take pictures, and we figured none of them were going to turn out, so we weren't stressed about them.
Right.
And they're the best pictures because everybody's so relaxed in them.
Yeah. I was thinking weddings would be a great thing.
Yes.
family reunions.
Yes.
To keep some of the kids going and busy. Boy, I bet you could get some, good photos from a family reunion. So any kind of sort of gathering that happens during the summer or during vacation would be great for picture taking. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Or a slightly older child at a younger child's party.
Yes.
That can be a good job for them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And sew.
Yes.
They love to sew. And I know it's a slowly disappearing art, but it is such a great thing to do. And they can just sew felt together to make a bag. And they're so happy with it.
Bags, pillows,
all sorts of things. We sew buttons in class, and I honestly worry sometimes that they will go remove the buttons from clothing at home so they can sew them on. So we talk about not doing that. But they just love to sew the buttons on.
Sure, and they can learn to do like embroidery, simple embroidery, or cross stitching, anything like that. Depending on the age of the child, but boy, it's fun. It's really fun to do that. And if they're a little bit older, they can actually learn how to use a sewing machine.
Yes. I say if you can tie your shoes, you can learn to use a sewing machine. Mm-hmm. That's always been my cutoff. If you can't tie your shoes, then you're going to get caught up in the sewing machine. It requires some similar dexterity. Mm-hmm. And so if you're unsure, that's usually a good way to guess.
Sounds good to me. Oh, we did that one. Let's go on.
Oh, this is a picture of our first chopped adventure. Oh. You can see some of the different choices that we had, and it's great fun for us because we just have a dinner every other week with our neighbors.
And I like it.
It's so much fun. Go places, and I don't mean that you have to go someplace really big or far away. This picture happens to be really far away, but I picked it because it was climbing, and it was something we did that was free for us. See animals. We have an opportunity kind of down the street to see lions and tigers. But I will tell you that these kids are equally as excited when they see a frog or a squirrel or something else that's just
bunny rabbit.
Yes. Something that's just out there in nature.
Sure.
I mean, they love seeing the lions and tigers, but they love seeing the frog too.
Yeah, for sure.
And so any place that you can find animals. If you go someplace before you go, you're thinking, we're going to notice something new. Even the same playground that you go to every week, there's probably something new if you're thinking about it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And it doesn't cost any more than whatever I did. Find someplace on a map. When we give them maps in class, they love it. Mm-hmm. They love finding where that specific thing is. And sometimes we're talking about Asia. They don't really know anything around it, but it doesn't matter because now they have found on the map where the Great Wall of China is, and they're so excited. So whether it's someplace that you can really go, or even if you're just exploring, if you do have a vacation planned, letting them plan a day or half a day, if you possibly can, finding someplace on the map. Does it make sense to go to it? Give them a budget and let them choose the restaurant. They love that.
Sure.
And it'll be the best day of their vacation.
We always, when we were on a trip, on vacation, we always did a family vacation journal. And each family member, including grown-ups, wrote in the journal every day about what had happened that day, where we went, what we did. We sometimes would include a photo, depending on whether we had one or not. A map could be included as well if you want to, chart where you've gone on your vacation. So a family journal, travel journal, is really a fun thing, and we look at those now, from way back when, and go, wow, wasn't that fun? Oh, I forgot we did this. Or,
Right.
That was great when we did that. So that's another thing you can do when you go places.
Yes. And it must be fun to look back and see their handwriting.
Yes,
as
it
well
is.
along with other things. See art. We are lucky to live in a place where there's all sorts of art just outside.
Mm-hmm.
Most places have that, though. You can go exploring art. We had one summer that my husband was off at training. I had 2 young kids, and we spent the summer tracking down these whales that had been created by artists, and I know a lot of cities do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go different places, and we would find the whales, and we would do the same thing. We had a whale journal.
Okay.
So we would write down, we would take a picture, and we would put the picture in when we got it printed, and we would write about it. And sometimes we would never find the whale we were looking for because it was kind of hidden. But that was a great thing to do, and really, it was time, but we all looked forward to it. It didn't cost us anything, and they got to experience so many different types of art because a different artist did each one.
Nice, very nice.
Climb something. We all know that many kids love to climb.
Yes, they do.
And we spend a good part of time telling them not to, so find some place where they can.
Absolutely.
Entertain yourself. I think that we, once again, have stopped thinking of this as a skill. I feel like some people are just good at entertaining themselves, and some people aren't, but it really is a learned skill. Mm-hmm. You need the chances to entertain yourself, and you'll notice that checking in with social media or checking anything else isn't on here because that's still letting somebody else entertain you. Correct. Read a book, which I suppose you could argue is somebody else entertaining you, but it's worth putting on there anyway.
Yeah, I think it is. Same with a magazine. Same with a comic book.
And I put magazines and comic books on here separately because I think that they get sort of a bad rap. Mm-hmm. Yeah. People think it's not as good as reading a book, and at a certain age, first of all, anything that they're willing to read is great. Comic books, because they have limited space, are full of fabulous vocabulary. Mm-hmm. So if they're reading those, they are learning a lot of new words, appropriate new words. And I just saw an infographic that 33% of high school graduates never read a book again after that. I don't know who any of these people are because it's nobody I know, but it was very interesting. So you want to help them find things that they like. Mm-hmm. You can see this is how my daughter was doing her summer reading. One time the book she was so involved in it that she was actually working at an event when I took this picture. It was kind of boring, but she still needed to look circusy, so she was hula hooping while she was reading.
That is multitasking if I ever saw it.
It was that important to her. Draw or paint, which I know we talked about before. Yeah. And I think a lot of people shy away from it because it's messy. Mm-hmm. If you give smaller amounts of paint and smaller pieces of paper, then it's not as messy. Yep. And you can control it. So depending on your comfort level, give whatever you can. And if you have young children and you give either just warm colors or just cool colors, they look like Picasso.
Ah.
because you can't really mess up if you have just warm colors.
And even for younger children, either finger paint, or if you don't want to buy finger paint and you've got some shaving cream around, that's really fun for children to play in, and the sensory part of it is wonderful too. So that's a good one to do.
Yes, I like that. I don't know what that says about how old I am.
Shaving cream.
Learn a new word. When my kids were little, this was really fun, that we would learn a new word and use it around other people, and it was something kind of secret for our family.
Yeah.
So it made it kind of fun, and other people would usually know what the word was, so that wasn't the secret. The secret was it was our new word.
Right.
And so that was really fun, and both of my children have good vocabulary, so I think it benefited them in the long run if we're worried about their academic growth.
Yeah. We haven't checked
questions.
I don't think there are any, but let's just check. There's only one page. I wonder if that's still happening. I hope you guys are seeing more than one page. Sorry, we should have checked that earlier. But if not, print out your handout and you will see all the pages. And you'll have
the pictures we're talking about.
You'll have a record of it. So sorry. All right. At the end of the time, we've done write a letter, and we've talked a little bit about a journal. We didn't talk about a scrapbook, but that's a similar kind of thing.
It's the same thing, just whatever you want to do. We talked a little bit about make plans, because a lot of this overlaps, but they just love to make plans, and if you give them guidelines, then they can really plan a lot. And take something away from what you need to do sometimes.
Exactly.
And I really love to organize. I mean, for younger children, that's a huge part of our classing. And we call it sorting or matching, but it's organizing.
Yeah, it is.
And say, yes, you can organize the games. The guideline is the doors need to close, and we need to be able, all of the pieces need to stay, whatever your guidelines are for it.
Oh, what happened there?
Oh, maybe that's why it's not.
I know.
showing.
No, I know what happened. All right.
Try something new. Experiment. You can science experiments or
baking soda,
vinegar. Baking soda, any of those that are really easy and in this, to go outside and do them, or you can just use a hose to clean up.
Right.
Use something in a new way. It's something kids are great at. Actually, science shows that we get worse at this as we get older.
I'm sure we do.
Buy a new gadget instead of just using what we already have. Say hello to a new person, obviously with your comfort level. There, learn something new about your state. That's
a good one.
Usually, learn something new about a family member.
Yes.
And try.
Oh.
And then the last, because a lot of people worry about this, happens all the time if you just let it count. Cars will we see on our hour-long dreams that involve money. Figure out the amount of money needed to buy something and count the change. We do not carry cash very often, so kids don't get to experience this. I have one family that has their daughter pay for certain things in cash. They just, that's how they pay for it, and they have her do it, which I think is great.
Oh, I do too. Absolutely.
Notice math and science in action, and sometimes that requires you commenting on it, and they'll usually take it right from there. Double or halve a recipe. It's a lot of fractions involved.
And knowing the difference between a teaspoon and a half a teaspoon and all that stuff.
It overlaps a lot of other things.
Oh, it does. It does.
And tell time. We'll be leaving at 3:30. Or in 3 hours, what time are we going to be leaving? Simply changing your vocabulary and the way you say things like that can really build in a lot of these skill development. You need to sit down with a worksheet.
Yay.
Enjoy vacations.
Yeah. And I've gotten a lot of great, as soon as my grandson is 2 years old, we'll get started on those. But now that he's only 3 days old, we'll probably just have to print out the handout and keep it in a safe place.
He just needs cuddles now.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining us again this week. Next session is going to be Carrie Conti. She's coming back. We've heard from her here. Be focusing in on is how do the different parts of the brain and communication work, and how do you know when your child is in one part of their brain or another part of the brain, and that sort of thing. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting. So join us next week for that one. And then I also want to remind those of you that are actually listening to us live, there will not be a broadcast on July 5th or July 12th. We're going to be, guess what? Enjoying our vacations. So thanks a lot for joining us today. We'll talk to you again another time.